So welcome. This is another conversation about the galactic landscape, talking a little bit about what that is like, especially in relationship to our Earth view upward, and what benefit there might be in understanding a different viewpoint. So we're going to start, as always, with setting the space. So I just invite you to close your eyes if you'd like to. And while I'm setting the space in the way I do, you're perfectly welcome to add, just the thoughts in there to make it even more powerful. So as we gather here in this circle with the intention of living our lives more fully in alignment to a greater field, in whatever way that we can bring meaning into our lives, our families' lives, or in the world during this time of upheaval, inviting change, we meet together to discuss and to talk and to share. And we meet here in the sacred ground of sovereignty, meaning having a clear, protected space. It doesn't mean that we're coming all quote unquote fixed. We certainly all have our ups and down moments, but in this space, we're held in love and in gentleness, in listening and in respect. We ask that the energies of what I term the guardian circle protocol hold and cocoon us, each of us and the circle in general. And that protocol invites into our space and into your space that flow of love and good and joy to fill you and breathe with you, that you can live and create from. In addition, it invites into our space those beings in the unseen world who have the ability to help heal and transform those sabotaging, limiting, stumbling blocks, that they are here also to be able to help in that regard. And then around the entire cocoon, that guardianship, safeguarding what I call the PTO team, that any energies that are coming intentionally to discredit, to dominate, to cause harm, are stopped a mile out from you. That they cannot in any way come into your space, but they are stopped, they are neutralized, their entire creative web of forms are brought together to be removed to the home from which they came, clearing our space. So we are together in that circle, sacred ground of sovereignty. We are cocooned within the energy protocol of the guardian circle. And we are here to be in love, respect, listening, generosity, joy, and learning with one another. And so it is. So welcome, everyone. It's great to see your faces. We have two on the phone because they're needing to be on the phone, but they're present. One is Carol Squire, one is Andrea. And so what we're going to do first is I've created a space. We've got this space here, and it's a circle space in which I invite you just to place yourself in the circle. And I will show you how we're going to do that today. And it's just simply to say who you are, where you are on the planet. And if there's a word that you're bringing, either curiosity or I'm in pain, whatever it is that you're bringing in a word or two, just put that into the circle. And in this circle field energy, it's not that we're going to fix it or change it, but the energy itself can then work with you in whatever way is best. And we've just holding that for you. So I'm Sharon Raji Maynard. I'm on Whidbey Island in Washington State. And the word I'm bringing into the circle is curiosity and expansion. And I will just call on someone, and then that person, when she's complete, will call on someone else and someone else. And if you're called on and you go like, I'm not ready, that's fine. You do not have to say a word, and you're welcome here anyway. So I am going to call on Lauren. You'll have to unmute yourself as you move around, okay? Lauren.
Okay, hola, hi everyone. My name is Lauren Aldifer, and I am coming to you from Nosara, Costa Rica. My 2 words are inspiration and connection. And I will call on Letitia.
Thank you. I'm Letitia. I'm in Somerset, New Jersey, and what is coming to me is healing for myself from the world, and help from the people of wisdom. Thank you, and I call on Arlie. Haven't seen you in a while.
Hello, Letitia. I'm Arlie Stein. I'm in New Zealand, just across the harbor from Wellington. It's Monday morning at 9 a.m. here. And I am bringing seeking, and I'm looking for not exactly inspiration, but let's use the word inspiration. But mostly I'm seeking. And I would like to call on Emma.
Hello, everyone. I am Emma McKenzie, and I am in Northwest Massachusetts, and it is a gorgeous day. I am bringing to the circle unexpected insights, and I will call on Robin.
Thank you, Emma. I'm Robin Davis, and I'm tuning in from Walla Walla, Washington, not super far from Sharon on the east side. Hi, Letitia. Hi, everybody, but it's cool to see Letitia because I hadn't seen her live. And I am focusing on and calling in rebalance and integration. Oh, I got to call on somebody. I'm going to call on Carol Squire because she's broadcasting from the Powerhouse Kitchen. That's how I usually do it.
Hi, everybody. I am Carol. I am in my kitchen on Whidbey Island, and I am bringing in space and acceptance today. And I will call on Cheryl.
Yes, I am in Briar, Washington, and I am bringing in several people here with me, I guess, and peace and clarity, I think.
Good to see you, Cheryl.
Right.
Been too long.
Put 2 on?
It's been too long.
Yes.
Oh, there you go, back there.
Thank you.
Buddies from when I lived on the mainland. Yeah. And the only one who hasn't spoken, Andrea, you want to speak?
Yeah, hi there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, hey there. Yeah, I'm calling from the kitchen table doing art on Whidbey Island, and I will bring in healing. Yeah. Thank you.
Very good. Oh, so what is the galactic landscape? That's the kind of the topic of the conversation today. So I want to start with those who want to put into the chat, what's your understanding of the purpose for this Earth life? Either something that you've kind of subtly come together or that you've heard it is. Why are we on the planet? What's the purpose for life? And if you want, I mean, if you want to speak it, you can, but if it's easier, just put it into chat. If you want to speak it, just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak it. What's the purpose for life? Experience, Arlie says. Union in love and to follow soul's destiny. Our perfection. Any other ideas? Our perfection experience. Find union in love and to follow soul's destiny. Divine intelligence that only embodied can we learn and advance our programs and our evolving human suit. To cultivate soul qualities. Some good ones. Some good ones. Most of them I've heard too. Okay. To bring spirit into matter as transducers, fulfill the mission on individual basis for compassion, wisdom, endurance, strength, grace, etc. Really good, really good. Some of the things that I remember being told is we're here to learn something, and once we've learned it or accomplished it, we don't have to come down to the planet any longer. So we're in this repeating, and you get it right, you get to step off the merry-go-round, kind of that. You know, I was in a situation in Boise, Idaho. I had moved from Utah to Boise, Idaho in about 1984. And I took with me my children, of course, all 9 of them, the youngest being 3 years old. And it was the first time since my husband had been killed in a car accident that I probably would have enough babysitters, free babysitters, to be able to go back to work. And of course, as a widow with 9 children and no insurance, but survivor benefits from the government, but survivor benefits only, that I thought maybe I can get out of this financial lack I'm in. If, you know, what do I need to do? Now, I'm coming at that point in time from a very patriarchal system. And in that patriarchal system, God gives you a job to do. And my job as a woman was to have children, to raise them well, to keep the house clean, so that my husband would have time to do his God job, which he did really well. But there was nothing in there about how am I going to financially take care of these kids. So evidently it was okay that I was just struggling, because what else was I to do? I just was supposed to listen to get what I got, and which was lots of kiddos and widowhood, and do that well. But I really wanted to kind of break free of that. And so I saw a workshop that was being presented in a little church just around the corner from my regular congregation. And it was all about how to be financially abundant, something like that. And so with great trepidation, I went to that new little church to a class. I'd never gone to a workshop outside of my congregational's presentation, except BYU. You know, I mean, that's different. So when I went there, they were really lovely and really welcoming. They didn't know me, I didn't know them, but you know, they had exercises and they had meditation, and it was all kind of new to me. But they had us take a piece of paper, and on one side of the paper, they had us write, what would it look like to be financially abundant? And I wrote down what it would look like. It was really easy. I'd be able to pay my bills on time. I wouldn't worry about my rent. I wouldn't have to stretch my food budget, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, they said, that's great. Turn it over. Why don't you have it? And that was easy too. I didn't have it because God hadn't told me it was time for me to be financially abundant yet. Because if he said that, I would be. That's my thinking. So when they had us share, I felt pretty comfortable in sharing the answer to why I wasn't financially abundant. Because, I mean, how do you argue with God, right? So I raised my hand when they asked, and I said, well, because God hasn't told me it's time for me to be financially abundant yet. They laughed, and somebody said, what God are you talking about? You know, it's one of those cracks in my box that says, maybe there's something different here. And I'm very, very grateful to myself that I didn't get on my high horse and say, wait a minute, I'm going to argue for that God point. Oh no, God can't be, you know, I didn't do that. It instead piqued my curiosity. And when that little bit of light started to come in, I started to learn things that I didn't even understand anything about, but I knew it was important. And the reason I'm going to tell you that story is because I'm going to maybe crack your box a little bit here today. But that's why we're together, right? So we can keep learning. So when I was guided in 1989, I asked my spiritual team, because I wanted to do healing work that was more expansive than the onion layer that was going on. It's like picking up the sands of the ocean beach, never finished. So I said, I want to go to the cause of humanity's pain, why we're cycling in pain. Where's my teacher? Where can I go? And they said, it's not being done that way on the planet. So if you want to do it that way, we're going to have to teach you what has been hidden and what has been lost. I said, I'm up for that. How many of you feel like, hey, if I volunteered for this life, like I was pretty darn naive? Oh yeah, I'm up for that. And then we get in it, right? So they said, okay, get a journal, ask us questions. We'll bring you clients that will spark questions, more questions, more questions. And then you'll get to the answer. What's the cause? So I'm going to give you a condensed version of what they said. And I'm going to begin with sharing my screen. It's one I use an awful lot. So this is what most of us have considered life on the planet, composed of vibrations that we feel as physical, faster vibrations we feel as mental, faster vibrations that are emotional, and even faster vibrations that are spiritual. Body-mind paradigm. This is the body-mind paradigm. And within that, our energy field, there are seeds or patterns. Some that I've marked blue are gifts. We bring in gifts, we bring in dreams, we bring in ideas, we bring connections of good things for other people. Lots of them. And we also inherit, as we now know, trauma type seeds from our family members, maybe in the female experience, in the male experience. So there's also some seeds that are in there that kind of trip us up. And we kind of know that. We have a sense of that. But what I want to talk to you about is, and here is a lot of where we get the purpose of life is to emphasize the gifts and the good and figure out what we're going to do to either heal or eliminate that which is not so good for us. And there's truth in that. There's truth in a lot of the things, if not everything, that we put in the chat. But that's looking from earth up, trying to understand a picture from the stars, from the galactic place where our soul families exist, from Earth, looking up. And it's the best we've been able to do for most of our lives. But I'm going to give you another view. My guide, the first thing my guide said is you have to understand there's not just two worlds. There's just not heaven, this source or good, and then earth, the physical. There is not just heaven and earth. That there are 8 regions that they called worlds, 8 regions that we have traveled through, and earth is the 8th. It's the last one so far. So it would be like here we decided to extend from our home, which some people would call heaven, source, good, up here. We decided to extend from our home, and we've traveled in Paris, and then we went to Spain, then we hopped over to Russia, into South America. Now we're going to go over to Uruguay, do a little stint in Spain, top it off with Mexico, and here we are in the United States. If we were to use countries, that would be like it was. And in every one of those areas, we had experiences. We had experiences. So if we're only able to look from this 1, 2, 3 dimension right down at the bottom of that spiral, we can't see the experiences up here. The best we can do maybe is see 2,000 or maybe 3,000 or maybe even 30,000 years ago in Earth life. We have a very limited view. And we also have this concept, which is also truth to it, that we come from magnificence, which we do. We come from magnificence, and when we incarnate into the physical body, there's a veil drawn. Well, there is. It's a veil of darkness, intended darkness in some cases, so we aren't aware that we're magnificent. Now, what happened? So this is what they said. This is my spiritual team. They said, in extending from home to experience some form or aspect of good. So it might be, I'm going to experience curiosity and explore all the different colors, or I'm going to experience all the aspects that is joy, or I'm going to experience all the aspect that is peace, etc. We did that, and we brought that agenda, and I call it divine family agenda, to begin to experience it. But we extended, it's like birthing from home. We're still connected. We have all the energy coming to keep us healthy and strong, and we're experiencing those aspects of home, which is anything that is good and beneficial and magnificent and creative and intelligent and brilliant, because that's who we are. So what happened? What happened, and this is what is left out intentionally of the story of our galactic history. There were other groups, and I'll just go back here. In these groups, we're not an individual. You aren't one person. You might be a part of 30 million souls or consciousnesses, because we're in groups. We are so group-minded. It's very important to us. And we work like beehives work. Unified. The good of one, but the good of all. And we're unified. And all of these are groups. You're not individual as we are on the planet. So we're groups. Well, out here in other areas of the galaxy, and if you've looked at, there's a YouTube called Laniakea. I recommend it to anybody. And it speaks of galaxies upon galaxies within the greater universe of which we're a part. in other areas within that universe and galaxy, there were family groups that chose a different agenda. And they chose agendas that had some form of domination. They were magnificent too, but they wanted to know what it would be like to live off other people's energy, other people's creations, and not have to generate it themselves. So they chose agendas to dominate. And in agendas to dominate, violence is allowed, deceit is allowed, control, rape, all those things are allowed. Voyeurism, it's all allowed in that agenda of domination. And we're talking eons ago. So here, these beings whose agendas were to dominate, in other words, they were like parasitic by nature, they used up their home energy first, because any parasitic by nature creation is going to suck the juice right out of the host. And that happened in their home. And so they needed other places, other hosts. And so they went looking for other hosts. And here we are, just bouncing around doing great stuff. Right here at this end. There was nothing beyond the third world, right there. And so what they decided to do was say, let's see, how can we get through the boundary? How can we get in there to attach to their energy? So they came up with a plan, and part of the plan was to broadcast, so that the little vibrational forms of deceit was hidden, and their message to this family was, you guys are doing so well, but you're kind of new at this thing. We've been around a long time and we know better. You're not quite enough. You don't have enough information yet because, you know, you're new. So how about if you let us come in and we'll kind of mentor you, help you in order for you to really do a good job with this agenda you have, because you are not enough. That not enough message did not come from your early childhood. It did not come because your mom thought you needed to look different. It came from this energy implanted way up in the third world that says you're not enough. And as a group collective, we bought it and said, oh, you're so great. We're so glad you came along. Yes, come on in and help us. And we literally invited in our dominators. We now have a slave master relationship going on here. And that's what you won't be told in an earth explanation for earth purpose. Right here at the third world, this is what happened. Because we believed we weren't enough, we begin to be vulnerable. And their outsiders started to feed that fear, feed that instability, expand that instability until that virus, if you will, spread. So instead of one little message, it became multiple messages. And now we have 3 types of vibration. Our divine vibration is one of magnificence, creativity, generosity, love. That's our original vibration. That's our nature. The divine nature is a direct reflection of our home. And that divine nature began to be refracted into times of fear, doubt, fear, doubt, worry. So divine nature became dualistic. And that's the duality we speak of. The duality is just a state of our nature being imbalanced. And that's really important to know. Love and fear, that's a reflection of our imbalance of our divine soul truth. But there was a third energy that came into being here, and that was domination. And it was not in any way a part of what we had created or was in any way a part of our family. You see? So pretty soon, when we, as that, like, you know, if I put big black dots along, this became a contaminated energy field that began to cause our family, like any other host, to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink into greater and greater and greater limit. So here we are in this seventh world, having tried many, many ways to move those outsiders out of our space. So we were kind of in a mess, you see. Now we brought our brilliance together again, and you were part of this. Because we needed a different plan, and the plan was, how do we survive? I mean, we look out in the world today, and it's not that much different, is it? We have been told that humanity is the cancer on the planet. Raise your hand if you've heard that. Humanity is the cancer on the planet. And the truth of it is, humanity is not the cancer on the planet. The truth of it is, outsiders who are hidden from us, who have manipulated, who have influenced, who have expanded, are the cancer on the planet. And they have refused to allow us to know that. So we think humans are the cancer on the planet. No, humans, you are a spiritual being, a divine being, a magnificent soul being in a physical body. That's who you are. But wherever there is an influence of outsider agendas, death is going to occur because they're parasitic by nature. I'm going to stop and open up the floor if there's any comments, questions, anything you want to say at this point. Just unmute yourself and we'll give you space and nobody will talk over each other, right? So anything that any of you want to say. You ready to go ahead then? Okay, Letitia.
You know, I'm so grateful. This is all new to me, you know, and I learned a lot since I've been studying with you since April. And I have to keep reminding myself that, because sometimes it gets, especially when so many things are going on within your life, you know, it's hard. You got to step back and be like, wait a minute, it's not this person's fault, you know. And I know what it is, but what's coming to me just to express myself is, when do we get these people, all of us too, but the ones with the energy that needs to be cleared to look at themselves and take responsibility to do the healing work themselves?
Good question, but good question. I'm putting it down. Thank you, Letitia.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else that comes up?
No, I just said no, and then I mean yes. Welcome to my world.
Yeah, I get it.
But also I've done some work with you as well, and work for many years, the knowledge of the not good enough, which I have seen and battled in myself, and I see as like rampant disease, especially in the light tribe. It's like we innately know, right? We're fighting against it because it's like part of us knows we are good enough, and we keep doing things, we keep following guidance, but then there's that programming and that voice that keeps coming, right? You can't do this. You're not good enough. You're going to screw this up. So it's really helpful and interesting, and then also for tools to help get rid of that voice, because it's still not gone. I've done so much work, and I have at least the consciousness and done the work where I can go, shut up, I can, or I'm just going to do it anyway imperfectly because I'm being guided to, because that's my guidance right now. It's like, don't worry, girlfriend, it's not perfect, but just keep marching forward because we need it right now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Really? You putting your faith in me? And they're like, yeah.
You got it.
But rewriting that programming, I think one of the only ways to do it too is together, and these families that you spoke about coming together, and then our united programming. I think individually a lot of these wounds are not able to be surmounted until we connect our circuits and push it out together. That's just kind of what I'm thinking.
Collaboration is important at this phase of the game, for sure. For sure. Okay. So now we're going to go back to screen share. So we are in a big mess. We are dying. And the cause, remember I asked, what's the cause of our cycling in pain? And they said it's not being done that way on the planet. And what was being done on the planet was like, feed the good wolf, meditate, follow teachers that take you inside. I mean, look at early childhood. There was a lot of good things being done. And there's even more good things being done now. And yet my guide said, if you want to go to cause, we will have to take you there because it has been hidden. We were dying. And we were not dying because there was something wrong with us innately. We were dying because we were under the influence of outsiders who were parasitic by nature. Their agenda was to dominate in order to control, to use, to play games with. They didn't care. We were just the hosts. We were dying, and the cause was outsiders. So what if I told you that the entire purpose, the initial critical major purpose for coming onto this planet was to get rid of the outsider energy? Wouldn't that make sense? How could we live? How could we stay in balance? How could we stay magnificent? How could we fearlessly create as long as we were owned by these invader groups that we had invited in unknowingly, and they were sucking up our energy. We were dying. We could not expand. We could not stay well. We could not, as long as their presence was there. So what did we have to do? We had to find a way that we could identify them and then have the authority, because they owned us. They owned us here. They'd expanded. You know, I don't know if you know Scotch broom, the plant Scotch broom. Here in Washington State, we have Scotch broom. And it's invasive. It has little beautiful yellow flowers, but it takes over a field and pretty soon nothing exists except Scotch broom. That's how the invaders are. They don't care. They're going to use us and use us and use us and spit us out when they're finished. It was a major problem. So we needed to have a way to get them out of our space and back to their home. Therefore, Earth. The purpose for Earth, the mission for Earth, was to identify and have the authority to have them removed by teams in the spiritual world. We are on a mission partnered with our family members in these 7th, 8th, you know, our cousins, our grandparents, they're still up here and they're waiting to act in order to clear out the outsiders. And it was our job. That's the critical mission of Earth. We had hoped it would be gotten done a long time ago. Those first souls coming into Earth bodies probably came around very much. The Neanderthals are very much reflective of how we were coming onto the planet. We came onto the planet with a really good immune system, identification system. We came onto the planet with, and we didn't procreate because we didn't want to bring a whole bunch of others into this mess. We were a mission force. So the numbers were about the same all the time. The Neanderthals mirrored that. And they were here 600,000 years ago. I think our hope was that we'd be finished by maybe 50 years later. You know, we had high hopes. Now, this is what the world looks like. All of this black stuff is the contamination, the toxicity of the parasitics. So how in the world we're ever going to do it? There are 3 laws that were required in order for this mission to happen. 3 laws. Personal choice. We are not down here living as a beehive. It's important that we have personal choice. We have to know how to be a one. Personal choice. Secondly, energy had to slow down so that those thoughts broadcasting would show up. They would show up maybe in an emotional unbalance, and then a mental thought like you're not enough. And if we didn't get it by then, it would be big enough that maybe somebody would be raped. Because that's how energy works. I'm going to go back to the screen share. And I don't think I'm telling you in some of this anything that's new to you. Energy is a continuum. So here it is. It's coming from those other worlds. And now we're in Earth. This energy that we call spiritual is called spiritual because we use spiritual gifts to discern it, to understand it. So we might be an inner voice, it might be a psychic, it might be clairvoyant, spiritual gifts to discern this energy. And the energy's information stays with the energy. Now, as it slows down, which law of manifestation is the next piece? The law of manifestation says that the energy will slow down, even to the point of physical. Not so in the other worlds. When it slows down a little bit more, we can begin to discern it with our emotional senses. So we might feel the anger of somebody else. We don't even know it's not ours, it's somebody else's, because we haven't been taught how to understand this energy thing. But if it's anger here, we might see it as a clairvoyant, might see it as a fire burning out in the field and have to figure out what that means. Here, somebody might feel it as a real intensity of clutching emotions in the emotional field. Down here, it slows down a little bit further, then it's going to be mental, and it might be like, you better get out of here, somebody's after you. And if you don't act on it, it comes down into the physical, and maybe you'll have a car accident. That's the law of manifestation. And its purpose is so that we will know when we are in the presence of outsider energy. And for us who are just beginning to understand that, sometimes an energy comes into our space like not enough, like the thought, you're not enough to do the job. We'll use that one. Thank you, Robin. You're not enough to do the job. Okay, so you're getting a message and you're hearing it here in the mental, right? And what we've done is assumed somehow it's part of our programming, somehow it's because of early childhood, we've assumed that it's coming from somewhere, but we haven't taken a course that says, hey, ask that energy if it's of the light. These dark spots are not from our light. So if you feel something that's off, like you're not enough, you can just close your eyes, say to the energy, hey, energy of not enough, are you of my light? 3 times. And you'll hear yes, you'll hear no, or you'll hear wishy-wash, or you'll hear nothing. The energies of the outsiders will answer through your mind, through your sensings. And if it's not, and anything that is not of your light, will say no, or will not say anything to you, or even cause you to be wishy-washy, unless that energy says absolutely yes. Yes, I am. 3 times. Yes, I am. Then you know you need some healing to do. But these guys are not of your light, and you cannot heal them. They're doing their job. That's what they were intended to do. We cannot heal them, but you can know their presence, and this is why we are on the planet, to know their presence. Say, are you of my light? No. Okay. PTO, that's a group of teams in those other worlds who are waiting to hear for you in a physical body to say, this isn't acceptable. I feel this off energy, off to my left, off to my right, above my head, in my shoulder, in these words. You just identify it and say to the PTO, it's not acceptable because it's not of the light. Move it out. We had hoped to be able to have that done with all of these guys would have been gone 550 years ago, 1,000 million years ago, or whatever. We'd hoped to have it done very quickly, and we haven't done it yet. Therefore, these patterns of we own you, you're not enough, we have rights over you, we'll use women on our will, use children at our will, you'll work for us for no pay. Systemic domination is what they have created. So we might call it racism, we might call it patriarchy, we may call it inequality for women. All comes from domination energies. And any of those now, we can say, out there in the world, you are seeing them in physical form. Are we not? We are seeing them in physical form. So what do? You see something that feels off to you, and you're not judging. This doesn't feel like it is going to benefit. Does it benefit? Does it expand? Does it bring joy? Probably of our light. But if there's a heaviness, a confusion, deceit, anything that is of domination, it doesn't belong here. And it was always the souls in the female bodysuit's job to be sensitive enough, not so they trip each other up, and not so that we are called to emotional, but so that we can go like, whoa, something over there doesn't feel right. PTO, come in, check it out. And then those teams from the spiritual world will come, surround the space, check out the energy, identify what is not of the family, and move it back to its home of origin. That's the purpose of Earth. At some point, we will have accomplished that. It would be great to have it accomplished in the next 5 years, wouldn't it? We see so much out in the world today. You could spend 2 or 3 times during the day, look at the news and go like, PTO, this situation, I turn it over to you. Get rid of what's not acceptable. PTO, turn this situation over to you. Not acceptable. Any place where there is where people are being helped to free themselves, you will always have outsider energy with it. So the Black Lives Movement, trying to free themselves, trying to help us get better, they also will have influence that'll be of those outsiders trying to trip everybody up. You could turn over everything that's good to the PTO, and they say, whatever's in there, in this good, identify what is of outsiders and move it back to its home. When our space is free of outsider energy, even as we lessen it within our space, all of the healings that we know, all the processes we know, all the tools we know to bring ourselves into balance, to be our magnificent, will hold. Right now, we have to keep pulling ourselves into balance, our own personal healing. But it's being absolutely unbalanced because of the outsider's presence in our world. That's why whenever I work or whenever I have a circle like this, I put a guardian circle protocol around us, because it has within it the presence of the PTO teams, so they can start clearing out what we already have, what might be coming toward us. So as we sat in 1 hour today, without you having to know anything about it really, the PTO teams had permission to start identifying influential any energies, any vibrations that were from outside agendas, gather them up like pulling in an octopus. They neutralize them, they lovingly take them back to their home of origin. So we are in an escalated place of the law of manifestation, where outsiders are being shown for who they are. We hear them speak the words, we hear them act the words, we hear them promote falseness, we hear that. And you don't have to figure it out. Just say, gosh, something in this is off. Take it back. Give it to the PTOs. That is your purpose. When that's completed, then we'll really be able to create fearlessly, magnificently, change systems, change the world. It's a stage that we had hoped to have done a long time ago. So, you know, playing from a galactic landscape gives you a new way to view what is going on in the world, or a new way to look at how you are doing in your life. And that's just one piece of that galactic history that I was given, probably started about 30 years ago. And it just feels to me like it has to be out there in its entirety. Here's one piece. And it may ripple within you and you go like, wait a minute. Hey, you've got my email address. You got my phone number. I know that I'm going to be offering something that will give a more complete picture, because I've been sharing little pieces of that landscape for 30 years. But we need the entire landscape. For some, you know, that might be enough. Knowing about the different ways you can use this law of manifestation may be just enough for you. But and that's great. If you have questions, you can call me. If you have challenges, you can get a hold of me. I have not a problem with that. But my intention is to begin speaking it more completely. So that's what we did today. Anything you want to say before we close this meeting down, or this circle down, and you can unmute yourself and just go around.
I have a question.
Yes, Arlie.
I've been PTOing the crap out of things, and it seems that they're still there.
Yeah.
You know, calling in once is not doing the trick.
No.
Why is that? Why is the bite so tiny?
It's because we have no idea how contaminated we are. So I'll give you one example, or two examples. I've taught classes before where a student, this is not uncommon, a student will come and they'll go like, gosh, I was so excited about this class, and about 5 minutes before I left home, I had a splitting headache, but I'm not going to miss the class. So I just started calling in the PTO, and by the time they got to the class in 5 minutes, they were fine the rest of the day. I was going to give a speech, had to drive an hour to the place I was going to do the lecture. And I was fine until I got into my car, and my throat just like could hardly, it was sore, was weird. And so I started, are you off my light? No. Move it off, move it up. It took me an hour. It was so impacted. It's done when it's done. And what you can also say, because we have the authority that you can say, hey guys, when I ask for this, I want you to multiply it. I mean, take the protocol and multiply it, you see. So it's done when it's done. I tell you that the eighth, all of those, the 7 worlds through which we've come, they're pretty much clear. They're pretty much clear and unified, and councils coming together to help us. There's a huge, huge change. The mess exists still in the 8th world. That's where it's most heavy, most impacted. The other thing to recognize, when I asked just a couple of days ago, because we see the systems, it looks like they are totally taken over. And I said to them, I know that the structures are in place. So how much of the parasitic structure energy is still there holding it in place? And they said only about 20%. I said, then why isn't it falling down? And they said, because it's not a good idea for it to fall down yet. So we're holding it in place so that it can begin to change and dismantle in a way that is maybe safer as we shift.
That makes sense.
So, we are not the one who is in total charge here, but we are certainly critical partners, because those in spirit, I don't care if you call them angels, ascended masters, gods, I don't care what you call them. The authority to speak for change exists with the soul in a physical body. Your request, your declaration trumps it all. When you speak, every one of those vibrational family worlds will answer you. But they can only speak in behalf of where they're at. We have extended through it all, so we have the greater power and authority. Any other questions? Thanks, Arlie. Letitia?
I don't think this is a question. I think you kind of just had me go through a journey of all your classes and answer my own question. And so much of what you just said, according to Arlie's question, just reminded me of how much PTO I'm not doing to take care of certain situations. And Arlie's question was, how long does it take? Reminded me of, I think, Arlie, you was on one of those last classes. Remember, Sharon, when you took us time traveling and we went to the Garden of Eden? Now, I know as soon as we came back, I was very angry and didn't realize it, and didn't realize how much you guys might have noticed I was angry, but it took me like a half an hour or 45 minutes of being in the house, realizing that I picked up some energy when we went out there. And I felt it. And that was my first experience. And I know I still have healing to do, but I'm normally a very euphoric person, happy, and I'm not toxic. I'm a person of love. And that energy on me, I think from 8 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning, you were helping me too. I was PTOing, and then I felt it coming off of me, but it took me a long time to get it off of me. And that was one, so, I think you're just answering my questions. Imagine the people that are filled up with it, that have no idea and have no control over it. And just thank you so much for this class of just reminding how much power we all have, and I know I have, to discern, to speak the word, to take control and do my part to make this world a better place. I'm so grateful for you, Sharon. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope this isn't a disservice, because it's a snippet, it's a piece, and it's so powerful to be in a group, where there's a consistency, and we're walking together, and then we apply, and then we have a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's my intention, is to hear from various people in these conversations, to say, okay, from all that I'm hearing and picking up, what can I put together that will be a consistent value? And I'll let you know, because I will have I'll be putting that together probably by the end of September. So you can contemplate, like, okay, that's great information, but I don't care about more, or yeah, that was great information and I want more. What would be the possibilities? And that is coming together, because I'm not going to pull it together until I have, there's another conversation that I'm going to have around this with a different issue. We had talked about heart chakra last time, and the chakra system. So thank you all for being here. And Robin, yes. And if anybody wants to stay on a bit longer for questions, I'll be glad to do that for maybe 20 more minutes. And anybody who has to leave is fine too. So love seeing all of you. So Robin, it looks like you have a question.
I had more of a confirmation about what you were just saying with regard to, it was about us coming in, and then Arlie, what you were saying about like your PTOing things, and then also Letitia, like I was being shown, we have to feel it. So you had to feel that anger. It has to come through a human vessel in order to get out. So it's like a lot of, I'm showing like a lot of empaths will be like, oh, I feel too much. I can't go there, or I can't be around people, or, they get bothered by it when we're not trained as empaths to do what we came here to do, which is to transmute it, to feel it like, okay, that's not mine. This is from this. I'm going to turn it into and transmute it. A lot of times I was shown how to like picture it going into rainbow and then going back into the field in pieces to be transmuted and recycled, right? But that we each, it's almost like what I was shown is like Avengers Assemble, right? Just like the movie, like it's almost as if God has like, mother is like, enough, I am sending all my children at this time incarnate who have done all of this stuff, and each of you have a piece to blast, each of you have a thing to PTO and call in. And then when we all do it together, you know, consciously or unconsciously, even when people are just going through this and feeling this, they're doing work that they're not even aware of, right? But there was one piece that you were just speaking about that was a total confirm, and now I can't remember what it was, because there was so much here. But just confirming that, thank you, and what we're doing and what we're seeing here. But like, oh, I know what the piece was, the confirm, and what I've been shown in some of my work here in the new systems work and the technology stuff is twofold. It's technology, you know, systems, real world systems, but then also technology that you're talking about, Sharon, and how everything is working. And many of us have been called in to do work on that tech that has been messed with. You know, I call it like malware or bad code. Like
Absolutely.
I've been guided either in a grid place or an etheric place to like fix, you know, in the chakra where there was AI in the heart chakra that was inhibiting our heart and mind chakras from talking together. Because when our heart and minds are communicating, there is no controlling us. Period. End of sentence. Not happening. So as long as we clear that, and I know I'm not the only one who's been called to like clear out some of that programming that is blocking that communication, but the whole losing it again about the confirmation on oh darn it. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. There were so many things, but it was about the outside and coming in right now for so many of us. Oh, I know. I got it again. ADD, second time around the track. Here I am. I've arrived. Okay, you ready? Okay, here we go. And it was about the systems. The old systems cannot fall until the new systems are ready. Like Buckminster Fuller, like you made the new systems that make the old ones obsolete. Yeah. And I was shown that many times, like a lot of people like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? But so many people, of course, the media does not talk about it, but I've been deeply involved with systems builders, technology people, and Light Tribe who have been working quietly behind the scenes, not broadcasting what they're doing, building new education systems, new financial systems, banking systems, energy healing systems, all of these things. And we are closer than people think to be able to let that fall away. And this is part of what I'm doing with my work to create a bridge. And I think the women are a big part of the bridge, especially to get over. And I know there's a lot of people who have come to me with some of the stuff I'm doing, men in particular, like, we can work without money and we can do this, that, and the other thing. Like, yeah, we will get there, but we have to like gather first and create new ecosystems and systems before we can take that away and do it, and we'll get there. But everybody just trusting that they really, really have a piece and a part, and wherever you're hurting the most or you're triggered the most, that's where your piece and you're supposed to blast. So if we all blast and PTO like our spot that's triggering us or inhibiting us, then collectively that blast is like nuclear, right?
Yeah, so. Yeah. And
sorry, that was long.
Thanks, Robin. And I think what I want to really affirm is that the outsiders have been hidden. They stay hidden today. And You don't have to go out in the world and preach it, but you have the authority. You if you sense it in some fashion, you know, great. Instead of being worried about it, instead of being stewing about it, instead of ignoring it, just go like, I don't know, something over there doesn't feel right. PTO, not acceptable. I give it over to you. Get into that power, because with the outsiders in our space, we will go down. I don't think we're going down, but that would be the condition, because that's what they do. They destroy the host. And we now are awake, aware, in our space of authority, and growing in that space of authority. So that's part of the galactic landscape. Glad you were here with me today. Thank you for hanging in there, sending lots of love. Let's see where we go, because yeah, there's that love heart. So much love, and hope to see you again soon, guys. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.